Hi, everyone. It's me again. I'm back here in Texas at my home. Um, I decided to do a talking head video for this. It's some information I want to give everybody who's in a long distance relationship. Maybe their girlfriend is not from the U.S., or whether you're from the Philippines, or in my case, my girlfriend's in Colombia. So I want to tell the story. Some of you have already heard some of it, of what happened in December. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to get around to doing this. But so the story goes this way. In case you don't know, I live in Texas. My girlfriend of almost 10 months now lives in Bogota, Colombia. So if you looked at any of my other videos, particularly the last 10 or so, maybe 11, they've been mostly of us traveling together, or me with her in Colombia. So the last time I was in Colombia, for purposes of the story, I left in mid October and came home. I'd been there all of September and part of October, and then was not planning on going back until January, which was going to be several months. And any of you that are in long distance relationships knows that's difficult. That's a long time to be away from your girlfriend. So my girlfriend Melanie, her birthday is in December the 21st to be exact, and then of course Christmas is right after that. And her family has a tradition of going to San Andreas Island, which is where they're actually originally from, and visiting grandparents and that sort of thing, family that still lives there. So knew we were. That was the reason I wasn't going back in December, was because she was going to be going on the trip with the family. But I came up with this idea um, for her birthday that we would meet in Cancun, Mexico, in the beginning of December, actually the first week of December. And I booked a really nice resort on the beach in Cancun with a swim up room, they called it. I'll try and I have a little bit of video from that I'll put there, like a room tour. I'll put it somewhere in this video. But so we were going to fly in there and meet, because it's about halfway between where I live in Texas and Bogota. This is about a 2 hour, 2.5 hour flight for each of us. So we were going to meet. I think she was supposed to land 30 minutes before I did. Then I was going to meet her before we went through immigration and go through immigration together. Um, uh, when I was at the airport getting ready to leave, she called me that she was at the airport getting ready to go to her gate. And she called me a few minutes later, and actually probably about half an hour later, and said that she missed her flight because they had some kind of issue in security and they shut the security lines down. So she got stuck in security for an hour and missed the flight. So they rebooked her on the first flight in the morning the next day. So I went ahead on to Cancun, got off the airplane, uh, took no time to go through immigration, got a cab, went to the resort, checked in, checked it out. Very nice place. I told the lady at the desk, because she said, "Well, you're supposed to be two people." I explained what happened, and I would be picking my girlfriend up in the morning the next day. And she said, "Oh, great. Okay, we'll just come here in the morning, and we'll get a cab to take you to the airport and bring you back, and then just bring her here." It was an all-inclusive resort, so they gave you like a wristband, so you could go to any of the pools or clubs or restaurants on the property, and all of that was included. So I said, "Okay, good. I'll do that in the morning after I pick her up." So I went and had dinner in one of the restaurants, went back to the room, talked to her on the phone for a little while, and went out to the beach at night, which was very nice, by the way. Went to bed, got up the next morning, had breakfast. Her flight was landing at, I think, 10:30 or 11 a.m. Went down to the front of the hotel, and they had a cab waiting for me. They took me to the airport. That's when I realized there's actually 3 terminals. This was the first time I'd flown into Cancun. So there's 3 terminals at Cancun Airport. The one I came in on the night before was Terminal 1, which I thought was the international terminal, and it is, but it's only international terminal from like North America. So Terminal 2 was the international terminal for any of flights arriving from Latin America, like Central America, South America, the Caribbean islands, that sort of thing. So that's where she was landing. And I got there, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes before her flight landed. They will not let anybody except ticketed passengers in that terminal, period. You can't go stand inside and wait. You have to wait outside in the front. They have a little gate off to one side of the front of the terminal where you wait for people that you're picking up to come out of baggage claim after they go through immigration. So when she landed, she called me. She was walking to immigration, and I told her where I was, and told her when she comes out of baggage claim, just turn to the right, and there's a gate there, and I'll be standing there. So that was probably 11:30 in the morning, I think, and I noticed there was a lot of people hanging around waiting for people to get off flights. There was one lady in particular. There was a yellow box, like a phone box, right by the gate, and she kept going up to the phone box and calling somebody on it. And she would like dial a number and wait. I could tell nobody was picking it up, and then she'd hang up. She'd cry and walk past me. Uh, so about, I don't know, 45 minutes after I'd talked to Melanie the last time she was in the immigration line, she still hadn't come out. It only took me, I think, maybe 10 minutes total to go through immigration and get my bag and walk out of the Terminal 1. So found a guy that worked at the airport outside that spoke English, and asked him about it. And he goes, well, no, he said, he said, you were from the U.S. They don't even ask you questions or anything. They just stamp your passport and you come right through. He said, anybody coming into this terminal is coming from another Latin American country, and they literally interview every single passenger that comes off the airplane. So he said, it's probably going to take about an hour before she gets to baggage claim. So he said, well, just stand here and wait, and she should be coming out shortly. So I did. Another half hour went by and nothing still. And she hadn't called me either, or texted me, which concerned me. And so I asked the guy again, and he goes, well, how long have you been standing out here? And I said, it's been about an hour and a half now. And he said, that's not good. He said, should have been out by now. He said, maybe they're having a second interview with her, or detained her or something. And I said, well, why wouldn't she text me? He said, well, they usually if they detain them, they take their phone until they determine, what they're going to do with them. And I'm like, oh man, that's not good. So anyway, he said, oh, this guy over here who also works here, his girlfriend works in immigration. I'll ask him to text her and see if I gave him her name and see if she can tell us what's going on. So I waited another probably half an hour, 45 minutes, and the guy came over and said, yeah, they detained her, and we don't know why, and she's going to try and find out and text us back. And I said, okay. So I'm still waiting, and my phone rings, and it's Melanie, and she's crying, and I'm barely able to understand her. She's crying so much, and she's telling me that they're not going to let her in the country, and they won't tell her why. And I said, well, can you give me or hand the phone to the immigration guy and let me talk to him? And I heard her turn around and say something in Spanish to the guy, and I heard him say something, and she started crying again. I said, what's the matter? And she goes, he won't talk to you because you don't exist. And I said, what does that mean? She goes, well, I had made her print out our resort reservation, and I had made sure to put her name and my name on the reservation so she could show them in immigration that she indeed had a reservation at the resort, prepaid reservation. And so I showed him that printout that you made me print out that has your name on it. I told him that I was there to meet you. And she said that he went on the computer and supposedly typed my name in, and that he looked at her and said, well, this person on this piece of paper has not cleared immigration in this country, which is obviously a lie because I was standing outside the gate, outside the airport at the time. And I did go through immigration, and they scanned my passport and stamped it and everything. So anyway, he wouldn't talk to me, and she started to say something, and the last thing I heard from her, she said, "Oh, they're taking my phone again," and so the phone went dead. So I kept talking to the guys who worked at the airport outside, and after about another hour of waiting, the guy finally came over and said, "Yeah, they're going to deport her." His girlfriend inside at immigration told us, and he said, "So they'll be putting her on a flight at 6 p.m. back to Bogota." And he said they'll give her phone back about an hour before the flight leaves, but they keep their phones until they put them on the airplane. And he said, and he started showing me a bunch of pictures on his phone of guys like me standing at the gate and then walking girls out through the gate and reuniting them. And he goes, the guy's girlfriend said, if you're willing to give us 2,800 US dollars, she can bribe all the immigration agents in that where they have her detained, and they'll walk her right out through the gate. And my red flag alert went off right away, and I said, "There's no way I'm giving you guys any money, because if I did, they could still deport her and then I'm out $2,800." He goes, "No, no, look at all these pictures of these people we helped," and I'm like, "You know what? Never mind." So I got a cab and went back to the airport. So I was really bummed out, and went to the desk and told him what's happening. And I said, "I think," because I wasn't going to stay there by myself, I said, "I think I'm going to go ahead and check out tomorrow." And because I had prepaid that and booked it through a third party site, I knew it was non refundable for the hotel stay. So I was going to lose a couple of $1,000. And it happened to be the same woman at the desk that checked me in the night before, that I had told her about going to pick up my girlfriend. And she was all upset. She says, "Oh my God." She says, "Well, I know that you don't want to stay here by yourself." And she said, "I know that your booking was non-refundable." And she said, "I can't. When you do it online, you have to pay half of the booking up front, and then you pay the second half when you check in," which I did. She said, "I can't do anything about the part you pay prepaid, but should I can refund you the money that you paid when you got here. You paid directly to us." So I said, "Oh, that's very nice of you." So I got roughly about half the money back. And then I was just going to rebook my flight to go home back to Texas the next day. So I went back to the hotel room and got on American Airlines site and started looking at changing my flight to the next day to go home. And my phone rings, and it's Melanie, and it's about 5:30, 6 o'clock at that time. And she goes, "I'm back in Bogota." And so, unlike, unlike what they told me outside the airport, they were putting her on a plane at 6 p.m. They had put her on a plane like less than an hour after the last time I talked to her. So about 2 in the afternoon. And she was already back in Bogota by the time they were trying to get me to pay $2,800 to walk her through the gate. She was on a plane already. So clearly it was a scam. I'm glad I didn't, fall for that. So long story short, because I have airline points, I was able to change my uh, or cancel my flight back to from Cancun to Austin, and use some points I had on Avianca to fly the next morning from Cancun to Bogota. The last video I posted, in fact, was from the 6 days that I spent in Bogota after I left Cancun during that debacle. So I ended up spending 6 days with her before I ultimately flew back from Bogota here. And it really didn't end up costing me any money because I used points for the flights from Cancun to Bogota and Bogota back to Austin. And then I got half the money back, a little more than half the money back from the hotel booking. Um, but so the entire reason for making this is, if you guys have long distance relationship, you have a girlfriend in another country, I would not choose Mexico based on this experience, to have them meet you someplace if they can't get in the U.S. Because it's very, very corrupt there, obviously. And from what I learned from the people at the resort, and also from Melanie after I got to Bogota, it's very common for them in immigration in Mexico, no matter where you go into, to pull off. In her case, they pulled off 10 women. They happened to all be from Colombia because that's where that flight was from. Some of them had children with them, but they were all women traveling alone, meaning not with their husbands or boyfriends. They pulled them off, grilled them for half an hour in immigration, and found reasons to deport them just so that they could try and shake down their boyfriends who were waiting for them outside at the airport for a bribe, which I don't know. Some of them may have paid. I have no idea, but obviously I didn't. So if you're thinking in the future, even like if your girlfriend's in the Philippines, Filipino citizens can fly from the Philippines to Mexico without a visa. So that seems like a good alternative meeting place for somebody from the U.S. to fly their fiance or girlfriend or wife even to Mexico if you live in the U.S., because it's pretty easy for us to get to Mexico, and they can get in without a visa. But as I have found out now, it's a high possibility that they'll try and deport them in order to get bribe money out of you, or just deport them, period. So I wouldn't take a chance on it. If any of you guys are considering that, I'd look at a different country. So that was the point of this talking head video, and we ended up having still a good time in Bogota, even though I felt bummed because that whole trip was like a birthday present for her. We had activities planned, and we didn't get to do those ultimately, but I will be going back to Bogota in about 3 weeks for about, well, not quite a month, about 3 weeks. So I'll get to see her again. But so that was the point of this. Anybody has any questions, suggestions, or anything that they want me to vlog about, either when I'm in Colombia this next time or in between, even if you want me to do another cooking video, which I kind of stopped doing, but I probably will start again when I'm not traveling. Let me know in the comments, and I will try and accommodate you. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Everybody have a great time. Good day.